Welcome to AHA 2021, our annual Hallwalls Auction. As we did in 2020, the auction itself, the bidding, will be online at ClickBid from June 3rd through June 6th. We do have a small ticketed preview VIP party on June 3rd here in Bayville to showcase some of the works and serve you some hors d'oeuvres. But if you're not able to attend that, we thought we'd put together this little video to show you what works are available this year, give you a sense of their scale in proportion to a real person, and maybe say a few things about them, get you to bid early and bid often. This year's auction is dedicated to the memory of Bruce Adams. Bruce was a longtime Buffalo artist for many, many decades, and a longtime Buffalo school teacher, both in the high school system in Tonawanda and at Buffalo State College. He was a longtime writer for Buffalo Spree magazine. He was a longtime board member at Hallwalls, and he was a longtime participant in many things at Hallwalls, including exhibitions, auctions, drawing rallies, special events like Artists and Models. His impact is really incalculable. It's really hard to measure what his loss will mean, and we did want to commemorate him by dedicating the auction this year to his memory. Accordingly, we have a piece by Bruce available for you to bid on and buy, and this is a piece from 2020, an untitled piece, as most of his pieces were, and it's very indicative of Bruce's style, using figurative elements, using abstracted elements, keen use of color and light, and put together in a ambiguous arrangement where he doesn't want to give you the meaning of the work. He wants the work and you to construct the meaning together. It's a really beautiful piece. It's really emblematic of what he was as an artist and how nimble he was as an artist. And we look forward to a lot of bidding action on this. Leila Lee is an internationally recognized artist born in Buffalo who had her first solo exhibition at Hallwalls in 1995. And she's also a graduate of Nichols School, a school that comes to Hallwalls quite a bit with their art students. And this is a beautiful little drawing that Leila donated to this year's auction. She was very anxious in this pandemic time to contribute something to help us out. And this is a gorgeous piece. I know someone that's already interested in bidding on it. So get in there, bid early and bid often, and maybe it'll be yours. This drawing by Los Angeles artist Deborah Ashheim is called Bunch Number 1. And it's from her series of works called Nostalgia for the Future, in which she drew modernist structures that were, when Deborah was younger, emblematic of the future, which they are no longer, but we still have a nostalgia for those forms and those dynamic designs. This is ink on Duralar, and it's a really, really beautiful drawing that I was really happy to get for this year's auction. UK artist Vicki Bennett, who also works under the name People Like Us, provided this beautiful inkjet print for our auction this year. Vicki had a residency project at Hallwalls back in the fall of 2020, and she's been a long-time DJ at WFMU, and this is actually artwork from one of her CD releases, gorgeously printed and framed. Charles Clough is a very important American artist, not only because he has artwork in museums in every state in the United States, but because he was one of the key artists that founded Hallwalls in late 1974 here in Buffalo, New York. Currently, Charlie maintains a studio in East Aurora near the Roycroft, or on the Roycroft campus, and for the last decade has been doing abstractions that he calls Cloughalos, sort of collapsing his name with the name of Buffalo. And this is Cloughalo 074, And though they're all abstract, they're all fantastically unique and really, they really display his adept skill with abstraction and his ability with his mark-making tools. So this is a great piece. Really happy to have it. Always happy to have a piece from Charlie. And it would look great in your home. This piece is called In Biloxi, and it's a monoprint on paper by the late Jackie Felix. It really leapt out at me from her work in her storage space when we were looking at potential auction pieces. It's very emblematic of the dynamic style that Jackie had, particularly when she was dealing with figures, and particularly when she was dealing with the figure as couples. And love the gray, love the yellow-green, love the way it's framed. I would bid on this if I could, but I'm not going to, so it's free for you to do so. This ink drawing is by Toronto artist Aaron Finley, who exhibited at Hallwalls in 2011, but has since been in a few of our auctions, a few of our drawing rallies. She's really a kind of a staff favorite here at Hallwalls. We love her work. Erin had offered up a piece for this year's auction, and then about a half hour went by and she emailed me and said, no, I don't like that piece. Let me find something better. So this is what she came up with, which is really very emblematic of her work. A female figure, very aggressive, kind of muscular. There's a cultural signifier in there, especially important if you think Margaret Atwood would make a great mayor. And it's really playful. As you can see, the earring says fun. So there are a lot of points of interest in there, a lot of action going on, and it's a really nice size too. This piece is by Dorothy Fitzgerald. It's very emblematic of her work, somewhere between painting and drawing, with spaces of abstraction, pictorial elements, and really kind of well-composed picture plane where everything feels really good and really right. And I'm really happy to show it to you. I hope you'll buy it, or at least bid on it. This parking lot triptych is by Wayne Gonzalez, New York-based artist, and it's from an edition of 24, and this is number 19 of 24. It's a really, really beautiful lithograph, and I think it would look sharp in a lot of places. Your office, your home office, your kitchen, your living room. You can put it wherever you want. So tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. This is a piece by Lee Gorius, Toronto-based artist. And it's kind of interesting because it's what's called a one-shot paint on aluminum, meaning the artist had one shot to get it right. And it looks like he did. And as we exit the pandemic tunnel, it is a really, really nice sentiment to have to remind you of future times. So you might be familiar with the conversations that involve a lot of talk but don't seem to go anywhere. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, this drawing by Toronto artist Marla Halady might be of interest to you. It's called Proposition for Tracing a Conversation. And I don't know if we're going to zoom in close enough if you can see the overlapping arrows that create this clustered ball of white noise almost. It's really it's a very modest piece, but it's actually, I think, very impactful and very elegant. I guess it all comes down to how you feel about pigs. I couldn't resist this when I found it in Richard Huntington's studio, and he was kind enough to agree to put it in this year's auction. It's really an interesting piece because it combines different elements of what Richard has done into a single thing. There's an abstracted background with this abstracted blue and yellow form. There's text on it. You know, Richard used to be a sign painter, so he does text really well. And then there's this really heavily rendered but comical and cartoonish pig face with a lot of painterly action going on in it. So it's kind of you know, it's got a weird balance to it, but I really like the dynamic quality of it. How the eye is just sort of ends up zoning in on the middle of the pig there. Like I said, it's really really comes down to how you feel about pigs. But if you're fond of them, it's a very handsome piece. It will look great over your couch. This is a piece by Brooklyn artist Vandana Jain, and it's actually not a painting or a drawing. This is all artist tape on wood with a UV medium over top of it, and it is rigorously done. It's really, you know, I'm looking at it up close, and I can't find any mistakes in how this was put together and rendered, and it's, I mean, it's a really stunning piece. Immiscible acrylic and oil stick on canvas, an untitled work by Jacob Cassay. It's a very modest piece, but it's really lively and really has a lot of depth going on. I don't know how well it comes through in the camera, the sort of sense of layering in the imagery, the sort of optical effect of the marks on the surface and the sensation they create when it's in front of you. It's a really beautiful piece, and it's really in line with what Jake has been doing the last few years in terms of imagery that attracts you and seduces you, but kind of vexes your eye a little bit as you look at it. Buffalo artist Kevin Kline is someone that often collapses photography with other effects, whether they're painted effects or, in this case, collaged effect, where he's taken a headshot of the screen siren Tallulah Bankhead and combined it with this sort of layered, multifaceted collage. And this is from a big series of these sort of headshots, these treated headshots, called More Stars Than the Sky, which was a tagline of MGM Picture back in the day. And it's, you know, it's a modest piece, but it's really alluring, and it really has a lot of dimension to it. This is not my personal slogan, though it could be. Probably could be for many of us. This gouache and ink piece by David Cramer from Brooklyn, New York is really quite wonderful. I know that I asked him for an auction piece, and he was on his way to the studio, and he got to the studio and he made this piece specifically for the auction. So that's kind of nice. It has that sort of fresh, spontaneous aspect to it. It hasn't been over-labored. It's a really nice sentiment. As I say, I think it applies to a lot of us, and hopefully you'll bid on it. So usually, as a matter of course, we don't have a lot of photographs in our auction because SEPA does an auction as well here in Buffalo, and they cover the photographic territory quite well. But we do have a few pieces this year, including this piece by Heidi Kumau, who exhibited at Hallwalls back in the mid-1990s. It's a very elegant, quaint, modest little piece, but it could be yours. So I kind of expect the bidding on this piece to be fast and furious and ferocious. It's called Zombies in Condoland by Jillian McDonald, and I don't really know that I have to talk about it much. You've got zombies, you've got a Starbucks. I mean, I don't know what else you're looking for in a piece of art, but it's kind of all right here. Julian Montague is an artist and designer from Buffalo, New York, and through a lot of his work over the years, he has dealt in issues of categorization and taxonomy and how to how to cobble things together and think of them in groupings and classifications. And this is from one of his earliest series called the Stray Shopping Carts, where he not only photographed stray shopping carts, he actually put them into definable categories based on their condition, how far they were from the source, whether they might be returned to the source, all sorts of different categorizations. So this is a really beautiful plexi-mounted photograph. This piece by Kathleen Sharon from Buffalo, New York, is a monoprint, and it's the only piece in our auction that has carborundum in it. I mention that only because I want to say carborundum, because it's such a peculiar medium. It springboards from earlier works of Kathy's where she was painting and drawing knots. She was really depicting knots for a long time, and though this isn't a knot, this cluster kind of evokes that same emotional quality as a knot does. So, one of the earliest artists to show at Hallwalls turned out to be one of the most famous artists of her generation. And this year, she has kindly donated a work to our auction. Her name is Cindy Sherman. She first exhibited at Hallwalls when she was a student at Buffalo State College, and this year has provided this really, really enthralling diptych that actually comes in this solid pewter frame. So it's really realized as a piece, and there are framed images within the framed image. I like to think this is a great piece if you have an office, but you don't have any family photographs hanging around, and you just want to wig people out a little when they come in for meetings. This would be a great piece. Or it would be great at home on the mantle, just to suggest that these are some of your nearest and dearest. So one of the most kind of iconic things you could think of in art would be the phrase, the hand of the artist. And that's actually what we have here. We have the hand of Kiki Smith on this print. Now this print is just a sample. They're very individual, and the one that will eventually be won by you when you bid on it and win will look almost like this, but it will have slight differences because it'll be unique. It won't be this exact image. But if you really want to honor the hand of the artist, which we all do, this might be the piece for you. Even though Toronto artist Chris Ann Stathakos exhibited at Hallwalls over 25 years ago, she was kind enough to provide this piece for this year's auction. It's called The Three Graces, and it's printed on rose silk, and it's a little bit of a collage element. It's a really, feels really delicate when you're standing before it, but it's really kind of an engrossing piece that sort of wraps you up in its central image. For several years, New York artist Betty Tompkins has been making these small paintings called Women's Words, in which through emails and through messages from strangers and friends alike, she collected hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of words or phrases that allude to women. And she would then use these as the basis of a painting. And this is the one she provided to us this year for our auction, Love. Sometimes I just get excited by the way something's framed. I kind of really like the way the natural wood turned out on this piece. This is a photograph by Virocode here in Buffalo, and it's from their Renatured series. It's a little bit of a sad image, a little bit of a funny image, but it's really gorgeous as well as a photograph. It's really rich, and the image is really dynamic. It's another one that, if I could, I would bid on it, but really, I'm leaving it for you. Kurt Von Vetch is another artist we lost in the last year here in Buffalo. Not to COVID. Kurt was struggling with brain cancer for 12 years, so he well outlived his diagnosis, his original diagnosis. This is a beautiful late piece by him from shortly before he passed, and it was kindly donated to us by Biff Henrik, who called and said, I have this piece by Kurt, and in commemoration of his passing and in your auction, I'd like to provide it so someone could buy it and enjoy it. It's a mixed media piece with pencil and acrylic and wax textures on it. Some of the most evocative drawings and paintings done in Buffalo are by Patrick Willett, who does these gossamer, thin kind of renderings that look like they're about to blow away in the breeze. And this beautiful wave is something he gave for our auction this year. And it's really simply rendered, but he gets a lot out of every mark. And it's a really, really gorgeous piece. So this is a beautiful wooden box made out of tiger maple, produced by Evan Hawkins. We're not just selling you a box. It was a box that was built to contain an envelope, and I'm not going to empty the envelope, but these are all the original artworks that were used in our pandemic project Postcards on the Edge, where we paid artists, commissioned them to produce new works. The new works are in here. We then reproduced them in editions of 50 and left them in a mailbox outside our building when we were during quarantine, and people could come by and just pick up artwork for free. And now we've collected them all into this one little edition, and in this beautiful, really beautiful box, and you might like to have it. As I said earlier, our auction is dedicated to the memory of Bruce Adams, and Bruce was involved in many things at Hallwalls, including our drawing rallies. And interestingly, I got a call at the last minute from a local collector and former member of our board, Alyssa Anthone, and she said, I have this piece that I bought at a drawing rally, and I'd like to, because it's Bruce, I'd like to donate it to the auction. So this is Bruce's 45-minute drawing from our July 2012 drawing rally event. So it's probably the piece. There are probably a couple other pieces in the auction, like the Ligorius, that was maybe made very quickly, but there are very few pieces in the auction that were produced as quickly and as efficiently as this. So this was done in 45 minutes in front of a couple hundred people roaming around Asbury Hall here in Bayville, and it's a nice end note to the works we have on auction this year.